Pathfinder. Making contact at .003.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we are talking about the season finale of The Acolyte, titled The Acolyte.
Oh, is it?
It is now, yeah. I just checked. It seems to
Okay.
be updated that it is episode 8, The Acolyte, which makes
Speaking
sense.
Speaking of updates,
Yeah.
apparently we are not live on X/Twitter. That we
Oh,
need
well.
a premium account to do that.
But, which we're not going to do.
So I guess we're done with Twitter.
Yeah, fucked Twitter. Sorry, you're done.
Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna remove that.
We are
Still
not doing it alone though. Ralph,
No.
we are here. We are joined by two guests, one at the moment, one hopefully to join us very shortly. Joining us now is Lucha Johnny, who you may
There he
know
is.
from the chat almost every week.
Hello. Yes,
Yeah.
almost every week.
Almost every week.
From Geek the F Out channel over on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, I guess just on YouTube. Right now we're
Yeah.
just streaming from Twitch and YouTube. So if you're on Twitch, go to YouTube and follow GTF.
Otherwise, we'll probably think you're a bot.
Yeah. So, okay.
I'm really curious how this is going to go. I text
Yeah.
Ralph immediately after I watched the episode, first thing this morning for me, and I got a
Right as I was
reaction.
going to bed.
Yeah, it was as you were going to bed, and it was a reaction that I wasn't. I don't know if I wasn't expecting it.
What is that emoji, by the way? Okay,
It was the
he
emoji
says-
that
you
sent
sent I love the show, and
Yeah.
I just sent it's the emoji where it's the face, and there's like
It's
that
the
grin.
yikes. It's just I always think of it as yikes. Like yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we didn't say any more. We're leaving it for this. But I mean, we know how Ahsoka went for Ralph. Loved it all the way through, and then the last episode it fell off a cliff. So, Johnny, I do want to get to you, but Ralph, just real quick before we get into the episode, did you like it?
There was two things in it that I thought were really stupid
Okay.
that soured it for me.
Mm.
I really liked it up until a point.
Okay.
And then there's two things that I thought were really stupid. One really, really dumb. And
Okay.
one that I would say is, and I this may prove, or just maybe it proves that I'm not a shill, but I thought was bad writing.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a
There's
few
two
things
things.
in this episode that I found confusing for sure.
Right.
But yeah, all right, hit me with it real
Just-
quick.
Well, let's go to Johnny. Johnny, what do you
Alright,
think of the Acolyte as the series? What did you
Yeah.
think of the finale episode? Assuming season 1 finale, not series finale.
Yeah. So I liked it. I like it in general as a whole. There are a couple of nitpicks that I did have with this particular episode. I was saying in one of the Discord chats, like, for some reason, and I don't know why, I have this expectation that these shows are all just going to be one and done seasons.
Yeah.
So at the end, when everything's not like nicely wrapped up, I kind of disappoint, and it's my own fault. And I was looking, and I'm like, my initial thought was like, because of the way Disney has done television, I expect like because of the precedent set by WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that everything was going to be like one season self-contained.
Yeah, it's like
show.
an event, isn't it? It's yeah.
Yeah, but Mandalorian had 2 seasons before either of those shows even came out. So I don't know why I have that stuck in my head that things are going to be one season wrapped up and like mini, like remember how like TV used to do mini series, like Stephen King's The Stand was a big deal in like the 90s, I think. Like, and it's a mini series. It's like anywhere from 3 to 6 1 to 2 hour episodes, and then that's it. That's
Yeah.
done. There's not going to be another season. And I keep expecting these shows to be like that, and more, they're just not that way.
I think there's definitely like the Marvel influence on it, because I think the same thing. Even when we've got shows, as you said, like we knew going in that Andor was going to be 2 seasons. We know that the Mandalorian just it seems to be going on and on. But then you had Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was like designed to be an event series because it was meant to be a movie. And I think, yeah, I always think that as well. I'm like, unless they've pre-announced that this is a multi-season thing and they're ready to go on the next season already, I'm like, well, shit, is it? Because we know all this stuff that they announced and then they just don't do.
Right.
That was like with Loki, the first season of Loki, I expected that to be self-contained too. And then at the end, it was like Loki will return. And I was like, there's going to be a second season of this? Wow, I didn't know. And yeah, like the Mandalorian has been, like I said, Mandalorian season 1 was 2019 and season 2 was 2020. And then Wanda and Falcon Winter Soldier were like 2021. So we had a show that already had multiple seasons before the single season stuff dropped. But for some reason, it's stuck in my head that these are going to be one and done events, and then like it's going to be a complete story. And I've seen some people saying, well, this is a complete story. We had the whole story of the Brendock incident and everything with that. And now, but no, like there's still
Absolutely
more
not.
story for
Yeah.
all these people. This arc is done, like the revelations of everything, but the whole story that they're laying out is not complete.
No, I take it back to like comic books. Like as you said, the arc is done. This story arc of the mystery of what happened on Brendock and the things around that and Ocean May. But there's still more story with both of those characters. There's still new stuff set up in this episode at the end that it's like, if you've got no intention of doing another season, then that's kind of weird to not pay it off or to include
It
it. At the
sounds
beginning
like they
anyway.
do. It sounds
I
like
mean,
I think they would know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they would be like, okay, we're going to do season 2. I mean, we saw in Willow that they promised at least 2 additional seasons. And that's not even on Disney Plus anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I read somewhere that in one of the interviews that Leslie Headland did, that she said she planned it for 3.
Oh wow.
Like she planned it out for 3 seasons, but they don't know if the
She's
second season
she's
is
been
gonna
really
come out.
coy in interviews. She's been like, yeah, I've got loads of ideas. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that. But there's been no definitive thing. I mean, it's the safer way of doing those sorts of interviews, because if it didn't get good numbers, then they just would be able to cancel it. They'd be able to end it. And I think that this one ends in a more satisfying way than Ahsoka did, in terms of if it was just one. But
Yeah.
I still would want a lot more.
I feel like it would help. It would have helped. I mean, I don't really care. I watched this under the assumption there's going to be more.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, there's definitely they're leading up to something coming up. But for people like Johnny, who assume it's just a one episode or one season thing, like announce halfway through the season, like we're going to get a season 2.
Yeah.
So
Or at
that
least, like,
that it can
so that
prepare you for that.
I haven't looked if any like post-season interviews and stuff have gone up on like Vanity Fair or anything like that yet, but at least have that news out there today. Like at the end of, as soon as the season's done, same as they did with Loki. Like as soon as the season's done, bang, we're coming back. There's gonna be another season.
Right. So what did you okay, all that aside.
Yeah.
Like the episode. Like as far as what's in it, the content, what did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. There was enough stuff paying off the themes that we've been enjoying all season long, that the Jedi suck. And the Sith, whatever he is, Chimera, I'm still not convinced that he's Sith. This dark side user is he's out there, he's doing his thing, and all he wants is an acolyte, and he gets what he wants at the end of it. I really liked all of that. I thought Sol doubling down on what he did was bad. Like I mean, it really shines the Jedi in a bad light, but it makes for an interesting story, and it does lead into how they could have easily fallen and when they do fall. What about you? Well, so what was your moments of bad writing?
I realized there's 3 things I didn't like.
Okay.
So the Sith mind wipe thing, I know it's in fucking the books and stuff. I know it is something that, well, yeah,
Maybe.
I always
I don't know. I
like,
don't know it.
I wake up and listen to
Okay.
Alex over at Star Wars Explained.
Cool.
Here, let me bring on Kayla. Kayla's here, and we'll get her thoughts real quick, and then I'll get into the stuff I didn't like. I'm not gonna get my paycheck from Disney this week, am I? Kayla.
Hello.
Kayla's here. Hey, Kayla, how you doing?
Sorry. Good.
Well,
How
it's
are
fine,
you
it's fine.
guys?
Oh, good.
Yeah,
good.
sorry about that. Someone would not leave. It's like I was listening through my headphones though, which I was just like, "Hey, I gotta go." And yeah, anyways, I'm here.
Hey.
What about you? What were your thoughts on the season of The Acolyte and the finale?
Season as a whole, I feel like it's kind of been harder for me to wrap my mind around a lot of this. I don't know. Some of it is like beyond my comprehension, and I've had to like look up a lot of videos for it. Like I feel like I wasn't as hooked as, you know, like Ahsoka or Andor or The Mandalorian, but I think by the end of it, I really grew to like and appreciate it. And the finale, I was like kind of expecting for like some things to wrap up, but then also I was like, I'm sure they're gonna do a season 2, so I was like part Johnny, part not Johnny in that regard. But I liked it. I wish like more questions were answered, which is funny because I'm a Lost fan, so I'm like used to not having questions answered. But yeah, I liked it in general.
I think with Lost, we always knew that there was another season coming, so I think that was part of why it was fine leaving mysteries open at the end of season.
The one of the things that really fucking bugged me, and it's probably because I'm an old man, and probably because I know that this is a show for kids. This is 100% a show for kids. All Star Wars is.
Yep.
So as we progress through this episode, we see May as a grown-up climbing up out of the hole where the bridge collapsed. And in my brain, I'm like, oh, she just got out herself.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I get it. It totally makes sense. She got out herself. Like, that's interesting. I was like, okay. So she's been on her own, literally on her own since those events. Her mother didn't, Coral didn't save her. Chimere didn't save her. Nobody saved her. No one was there to save her, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I think that's great. It shows that she was, you know, she has been on her own since then. Since a little girl, she was running around on her own. I don't know how she got off the planet.
Until she bumped into Chimera, or Chimera basically recruited her. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's great. And then later on, they climb down. May and Osha climb down, and they're going through the tunnel. And ADR line, you don't see their faces as they're crawling through the tunnel. Oh, this is how you got out as a little girl? And I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, I know it's the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing that you brought up. I love that show up until the final episode where they flat out decided to do a speech about everything I already figured out in my adult brain what the themes of the show were. And it's one of those things where it's like it feels like a studio note of like,
gotta explain it.
It wasn't clear, so explain it in ADR that this is how she got out. And I'm like, so that the kids understand. And I'm like, for me, it's such a small nitpick, but at the same time, that's the third thing that bugged me. The bad writing stuff and the like. That's a studio note thing, 100%. That's we need to make sure they understand this.
I can't wait to see people complain about like her getting sucked into a hole when, you know, it's very much established in Empire Strikes Back that you can get sucked into.
It looks just
holes.
like the same hole.
It does. I think it's designed to, but like, I feel like
what they said.
That's there it is. That is the point though. I think that's what you're trying to get at. It's like, you don't need the line. If you just have that, the visuals of it and the way that like even the angle of it like looks like
Well, she
a tunnel
says,
from Empire.
doesn't she say when they first go into it that it sucked her in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
don't need the additional line of like, this is how I got out. Like, 2 + 2 = 4.
The imagery of her climbing up the rock where you see the bridge collapse. It's like it's visually
We get it.
it's a great shot. It reminds me of Kylo Ren in
Yep.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Or
coming out
Rey
as
in
Ben
Force
Solo.
Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, I got, but
I get it.
that's
You get it.
100% a studio
Alright.
note. Sorry, Disney
that's your minor
Studio,
one.
Lucasfilm Studio.
Yeah.
I'll take Ralph's paycheck.
You're
this
off
week.
the payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that really fucking bothered me is the mind wipe. It really, really drove me nuts. I was
didn't seem
on Holdo
necessary.
Maneuver podcast last week. Sorry,
And
it's
last
been a
year.
long week. Yeah. And someone we were talking about the whole thing where Kiadamundi says the Sith has been dead for millennia and he was there. And I'm like, yeah, but nobody's told him.
Yeah.
Nobody, it's still only one person is Saul that knows it. And then May and Osha, and someone in the comments joked, oh, maybe they just I think it was in the quote of like Jimmy Smith's, like, oh, and have the droid's memory wiped.
Memory erased. Yeah.
And someone wrote that in the comments, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. That's a funny joke, just memory wipe. And then it happened, and I was like, fuck! It was a comment. It was a joke comment in the comments, and then I was just like, ugh.
Well, that's it, because
it killed it. It killed it for me.
Because Kymer does mention it in like the second episode or whatever it is, when like the Jedi approach him in the shop and things. So, like he's like, whoa, don't like wipe my memory or anything. And even then, I was like, this is because he's playing Job's body on the street, just a regular guy who's like got these fears about what Jedi can do, and that's the part that he is playing in his deception, that regular people might think that they can just wipe people's minds, but turns out he can. I know, I think it's Joanna Robinson over on The Ringer, on the Ringerverse, their coverage of it. She's been going on about the mind wipe thing and thinking that it's going to come up in some way all the way through this season, and thinking that it would be a Jedi thing, that the Jedi did that to Osha at some point to sort of make her forget what was going on. But it's interesting that it's not from the Jedi and it's not to May. It's like the flip of all of that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. I think that's the only problem, is that it's just completely unnecessary. They know that the Jedi are going to use her to try and track the others down. So if they're really dark, if they're really Sith, they would have just killed her.
That's the thing is, I was here. You have May and Osha and Chimere. He has wooed both of them. He has tried to court both of them and has successfully courted both of them. If you need to clear somebody's memory, and I hate amnesia stories, I hate them so much. If you're going to have one have amnesia, he should have pit them against each other somehow. Under that tree, and have May hit her head on a rock or something.
I thought you were going to say something else. Have a threesome.
Oh, no. Oh,
I mean, the show's horny, but I don't know if it's quite that horny. I think he could, though, if he tried. I mean, the CGI budget would be nuts. I get that he wouldn't want to kill her in front of her sister, because that would turn her off of being like his apprentice, his acolyte. But you use some way, you play them against each other. You do the Sith dark side
because
thing.
we got a little bit of a fight between them, which was awesome. Like I love that fight.
Cool
I'm like, oh,
it was a great fight. Like they're a complete mirror match of each other.
Yeah.
And I would much rather see Chimere just standing there watching these two just
go at it,
fight. Like and
he's a voyeur,
and I feel but I feel like I was just like, she's like, oh, I'm gonna go with you, let my sister free, and I was like, what is this? It was like, no, I don't know. I don't think they
Yeah.
should have made up. I feel like there
It-
still should have been tension around Saul and
It
all
was
of
a
that stuff.
softening. It was a softening of Chimera that I don't think was needed, and it kind of a bit too much. We'd already seen him
have
sort of
some
soften and
thoughts.
like sit back at the end, like at the end of the fight, him and Soul's fight. Like he's just stood there, and I'm like,
Mhm.
That
Took off his helmet.
yeah, like he's let himself be very vulnerable in that situation again. But
Mhm.
last time he did that, it was a very like personal thing. Now he's doing that in front of essentially his sworn enemy. It's like
Yeah.
that's interesting. It's a baller move in one regard because
Yeah.
he's like, I've got this no
Okay.
matter what. I've already won the girls over. But
There's
it's also maybe a bit too much.
there's so much I like about Chimera in this episode. There's a ton I like about him. And I really like Osha in this episode. It starts with her taking off the helmet.
But after
And
using
also
after
the
using her
witch
mother's
move.
power thing, yeah.
Yes. So I've noticed that there's kind of a change in Chimera in this episode. He seems more sympathetic towards her. He seems more sympathetic in general.
Scared
And
of her?
almost like
Yeah.
almost
think
like
so.
she is like he's going to be her Padawan.
I mean,
It's
I think
crazy.
they're going to
Maybe
train
this
each
is
other.
how
It's going to
they
be
start the
a
Knights of Ren.
partnership. That's it. I
Oh,
think
they're gonna
that's
train
what
each
Plagueis
other.
has nothing to do with these two.
I
so-
don't think Plagueis has anything to do with them. I think he's the real boy.
He's
out
just
there.
watching.
He's
yeah.
like lingering. He's watching. We don't know what his like position is at the moment, but like, I don't think that he's like Chimera's master or anything like that at all. I think that's a separate branch. And yeah, if we're gonna have Chimera and Osha be related to anything, it would be the Knights of Ren side of things. That music cue isn't like used for nothing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you notice when
that.
she took when he pulled the helmet off of her, she had like red glowing in her
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
I freeze framed
Oh,
it. It
shit.
actually looks like the red lightsaber blade reflecting in her eyes. I think it was like
Ooh.
a part of whatever visions she was seeing of the future.
She told
Which-
him the vision,
Yeah.
which he's like, okay, he believes that. She saw that. And so by the time he gets to Saul, he's like just waiting for this moment to happen. And so he's
Yeah.
like, once that moment starts happening and it's Osha with the lightsaber, he's just like, all right, I'll just kick back. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
I
him
know how this
and
ends.
Soul's fight isn't him trying to kill Soul. It's him positioning Soul. He's moving him down the corridor to get him to where he needs to be to like put him in that place at that time. So that he's playing chess. He's just putting all the pieces in the right spot.
Which is
see that.
great. I literally
So do you
loved
think-
everything up until the escape.
Do you think she
the
really
girls.
saw May or she just saw herself?
I think she saw herself, but probably
Thought
was
it was
wrestling with the
May?
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. She thought
She's-
it was
she can't
May
tell herself.
until the point came where she actually turned
Yeah.
to the dark side and it
I mean,
was
she
her
turned to
who
the
was
dark
doing
side.
it.
Her lightsaber
Also,
turned.
Yeah.
before all this, I'm confused why Basil, why he did that on the ship.
Everybody
Shut down the
seems
weapons.
to be
Like what?
He's a spy for Vernestra Rowe, right? He was talking to her, and she
Yeah,
thinks
maybe.
Saul is the one that is the suspect.
Basil was yeah. And Basil was definitely friendly with Vern's new apprentice. So yeah,
Mog.
Mog,
the
yeah,
Mog.
the Mog squad.
I
Yeah,
took it
yeah, I can see
as
that.
he saw the change in both of them, and he knew now that like May was more of the light one, which reflected in their outfits. You know,
I think
yeah,
the
he's
way
very
I first
confusing.
my first like instinct of it is similar to how we saw him like 2 weeks ago, when it was like he's doing stuff, but he isn't a Jedi. He's like kind of just an outside contractor who's like, what the fuck have I been thrown into? Why am I getting involved in all this shit? People are killing people. I don't know who's good. I don't know who's bad. Just don't kill people. He's just like, just stop killing people. Stop trying to shoot people out of the sky. Like, so he's gonna stop any of that. Is how I first saw it. But I do like the idea that he is like directly reporting to Vern and Marg.
Okay.
which we saw, right? We saw him on the communicator, and then we cut to Vern. She's on the communicator, but it's a basic speaking voice coming out of the speaker. So it's either
I got
going
notes on that
through
too.
Mog or it's a translator,
Yeah.
like the way that the Ithorians have the translators on
Yeah.
their things. So it felt like he was definitely like working with her. And
Got it.
when all the shit went down and Saul was a suspect, also like if like Basil knew May was on the ship, and Basil knows that May was at the time a shithead, and that they're going back to Coruscant. And Basil might have just been like, might have cut the power and just like, eek.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop this now. Contact Vernestra. And that's when she started chasing down Saul and tracking Saul. So it felt like Basil is a spy for the Jedi, or is 100% on their side, and getting orders from them.
Yeah, I could see that. I think.
Like, I understood Pip squirting at her.
Yeah, this is new Pip.
you
This is
know,
Pip 2.
Yeah, this isn't old Pip, which it took me a second. I was like, Pip, what the heck? And then I was like, oh yeah, he was like restarted.
It's factory reset.
Factory
yeah,
reset.
exactly.
It was. It wasn't really a heel turn. It was more of a face turn. It was the double turn. Like it was the double turn. They all turned.
Yeah, we had the Bret Hart Steve Austin turn with
Did.
May. Like
It's
the double
done.
turn.
It's completed. Yeah. Like it's great. I'm here for it. It's good.
Which I enjoy. It's fun. It's because we didn't get to see really May being courted by Chimere.
No,
but we get to see how he's doing it with her, so we get to see the full story of how you do that, and I really like that. I really like Oka a lot. The scene in the courtyard where the ascension took place, and that ceremony, and May, Osha, and Saul. I really liked when Saul was telling her why he did all this. And he goes to say, because I love you. And then he doesn't say it. And I'm like, oh shit, choked out. Fonz? I'm like, is he the Fonz? Can he not say, like, I'm sorry? And he couldn't say it because he's a Jedi, and the Jedi's not allowed to say love. And I was like, I'm like, he's so choked up about being able to say I love you.
I mean, he was definitely choked.
In his entire life. But then I realized, oh, he's being choked.
Yeah.
And Osha was at the point where she's like, I don't even want to fucking hear the word come out of your mouth.
No.
Yeah.
It was a trigger that sent her to the dark side fully. And once she raised her, I'm like, oh shit, he's being choked. I'm like, who's choking me? And then she raises her hand, and I'm like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And Alex mentioned this on Star Wars Explained, and the same thing happened to me. It never. Sorry if you hear the cutting leaves in the background.
Oh, good.
How dare.
They never fucking occurred to me that killing a Jedi without a weapon is doing a force choke. That never.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, okay. See, I sort of have thought that for a couple of weeks when they were harping on about it earlier on. I was like, I mean, there's definitely ways, and that one is, I think, the strongest way. I think, again, it's one of those things that we don't see Jedi doing it. It's not a traditionally light side thing for them to do. But it does happen, but not commonplace. So at this time in the galaxy, when there isn't prevalent darksiders, being force choked isn't something they're going to be expecting at any point. Not something that any of them are going to be used to seeing, and it feels darker, especially when you only see you see it once in this show. It's it feels impactful when it happens, and it's yeah.
I think because
it felt organic too, because it wasn't just she just did it with no knowledge. She said stop talking, and was doing it subconsciously, and the force was interpreting what she wanted by doing the force choke, which I thought was neat. Yeah. Not just also, she can just force choke people now. It felt like an organic evolution of her abilities.
Yeah. And her like hand gesture is different than when, Darth Vader does it too. Wasn't quite the same. Because yeah, exactly what you're saying, Johnny. I don't think she knew what was happening. She was just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, she's not here for it. It doesn't matter what he's saying. Like she's heard all she needed. She was definitely like leaning dark side already, but that was just the tipping point. There was no coming back after being having the truth revealed from him as well. Because I think she probably already knew.
Yeah, straight from the horse's mouth. It's a little different.
And the way that she drops down to her knees afterwards, it reminded me a lot of Anakin after throwing Mace out the window, but I think this was better. It was better performed. It was better acted. It was better written. It felt more tragic than that like admission of this is it. I'm in. I'm dark. Because with Anakin, it always sort of felt like in that scene where it's like panic joined the dark side. Like I guess I have to now because otherwise I'm liable for all this. Whereas with Osha, it's like, no, I'm in. I'm with you now. Like you're the one who's been telling me the truth all along. Like you're not lying to me. You've got my back. Whereas this guy, who I loved like a father, is responsible for my mother's death and for everyone else.
Speaking of that moment with the dark side turn, it was neat to see the lightsaber change color in real time, like the kyber crystal bleeding. But I thought it was going to be a longer process. Like I didn't think it was just going to be, boom, here it is. Because I get that part of it was that like they specifically showed the lightsaber hitting whatever that piece of metal and cracking open, exposing the crystal. But like Anakin's saber was still blue for a real long time after he's just started murdering people.
There's a whole comic series about him having to like get a new crystal and bleed it and everything like that. But like, yeah, this I love the way it's done. As soon as it cracked, I could see where it was going. I didn't know if we'd get it in this fight. I thought maybe it was going to be like a process at the end of the episode or something of her sitting, meditating, bleeding it or whatever. But like the fact that we saw it crack and then we cut to it when Soul's talking and it's in her hand and she's like gripping real hard and it's starting to turn. But then when she ignites it, it's not instantaneous. There is a flicker in it. It's a bit of a process. It's a cool. great visual. It's really, really well done.
Yeah, is this something we've seen in like comics or we've seen in like Clone Wars or anything? Yeah.
Comics and video games, yes. First time in live action. And in that moment as well, when it cuts over to May looking and watching all this, she looks scared. She looks scared of Osha.
She even looks scared of
she's seeing her reflection
earlier.
What she's seeing
when they were fighting, and Osha like screams out.
Mm-hmm. Everyone seems scared of Osha, I think, in this episode. Like, she's powerful, and I think everyone sort of is seeing it.
Yeah, it seems like May's heart wasn't really in the whole dark side thing. She just wanted, like, justice or revenge. Maybe justice more than revenge. Yeah. And now Osha wants revenge. Like, and that's the difference between them with the turn. I partly expected, like, at the end when they were hugging, because they made such a big deal of them being the same person. That they were going to, like, fuse back together, essentially, into, like, one person. Like especially when they were hugging. Yeah, like, when they were hugging so hard, I expected them to, like, meld back together and join back.
If we get additional seasons, it's going to happen. But it's not going to be... They can turn into smoke. We've seen May start to turn into smoke. So I'm assuming the smoke would kind of form and like become just one
mega monster. Yeah, station.
Yeah.
Right. What else? The fight itself, the Soul and Chimera fight. Ralph, you hate when things are cool for cool's sake, but this was just a great lightsaber fight. I thought I really enjoyed the wire work, the real Crouching Tiger sort of style wire work that we got, and then the Matrix. I can't see a triple kick without thinking of the Matrix, because I just remember watching behind the scenes and seeing like
Yeah.
Keanu get really excited about doing the 1, 2, 3, and so we got like a triple kick, and then Kaime does the double lightsaber throw, like, and then
Yeah.
running at them, pulling it back in, only to get like force pushed out of everything. It was such a good like bang, bang,
Yeah.
bang like move. But even before that, in the corridors when it's confined spaces, that was great.
I've enjoyed all the action in the series.
I think it's
And I think this was a nice progression, and seeing these guys one on one in the daylight, like there's nothing obscured. It's not in dark like in episode 5. It's like everything's done like behind through trees and it's dark and stuff. This was like we get to see everything, even if the wire work isn't perfect. You're just like you get to see everything, and it was a really good. There's some really good coordination in it. There's really good. I really liked it. I liked May and Osha's fight a lot.
love that.
Yeah.
I thought all of that was great. I really honestly like enjoyed this episode, except for the mind wipe. I wish that could have been handled differently. And then one more thing we'll talk about later for sure.
Okay.
That just fucking killed this episode for me, and I felt like it just was. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
Whoever says the key word,
I mean,
you'll get my wrath.
Okay.
As soon
I
as
mean,
somebody
it's
says
not what I thought then.
I think-
because I thought it might have already been said, but apparently not. Wow.
No.
Okay.
Hmm.
It might be the other one then, which is interesting.
Is it?
I'll just say it. Yoda was fucking stupid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think it was
felt like-
fucking stupid, and it
Apparently it was
diminishes the
last
whole
minute.
episode. The last shot of Osha, and Kymir in front of the sunset, a classic sort of like a tableau, I guess. That finishes like Star
perfect,
Wars. Looking
perfect,
off
like,
into this,
ending.
it's like the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
It's the end of the Last Jedi, the end of Empire Strikes Back, the end of Star Wars and
End of-
Jedi,
yeah.
where you have this wide shot of where your characters are at the end of this thing, and with Osha and Kymir holding one single lightsaber,
Yeah.
staring off into the horizon, knowing full well that dude's behind him, Plagueis. It's like, holy shit, what a fucking amazing setup
Closing shot.
for the future of this story.
Yeah.
Great. Smash
And-
cut the fucking Coruscant, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Give me some credits first. Make
Yeah.
it mid-credit.
Yeah,
Fine.
I thought it was
If
gonna
you
be
wanna
like a
have Yoda in there,
mid-credit
fine.
scene.
But it totally is like this thing where it's like they feel the need, and Dave Filoni does this a lot, where it's like the fucking Leonardo DiCaprio
Point.
meme of him pointing, and it's like this show had none of that unless you read the books. You got
Even then, it's
sort of-
so minimal. Like that's what was so great about it. Yeah.
Kiada Mundi was the craziest thing, and people were up in arms about it. But it's like, listen, here's so you kind of see where we're at in this story. Here's this guy, this background sort of sea-level character, younger. So it gives you a sense of like, okay, this is where we are in the timeline of things, if that's necessary. I don't need Yoda. I don't need him. This story works so well, except for the mind wipe. It works so well as this piece of Star Wars. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's fucking the Darth Maul in Solo. It's like, stop.
You don't
Just
need it.
stop doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And if you need to do
Try
it,
to make it happen. It's not
Yeah.
gonna
if you
happen.
need to do it, don't smash cut after an amazing shot. There's going to be
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many
Put it
people
before.
that have
Put
that
it-
final
yeah.
shot as their Twitter banners and shit.
Mhm.
It fucking pissed me off so much.
Yeah.
I just, as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, it's Yoda. Like I
course.
said, in my brain, I'm like, oh, they're going to show us Yoda right now.
Mhm.
And then they showed it, and it felt so sort of cheap, and it was so uncreative.
So
And also the smash cut, I'm like, why are you doing this to this show? Put it at the end of the credits.
Like, I really hope there's a solid reason. Like, I really hope next season that
It
Yeah,
makes
that's-
sense.
it wasn't
That's
just
my
an
note.
Need to be
afterthought.
there.
That was my note.
Yeah.
Is the Yoda cameo served no purpose? Like,
No.
Yeah.
if you
And-
take that out, it
Because I don't think the only way that it could serve purpose is that like we find out that Yoda knows all this stuff and that he's been a withholding jerk this whole time, which I joke about. I've joked about in
Bring it
previous
up.
episodes, but like the only way it does make sense is if they lean into that and go, Yoda knows that there are like Sith quote unquote out there, like
But that's for season 2.
But-
This story, that
Yoda's
last shot.
also a bad boy.
yeah, he's like R2D2. They're both very withholding of vital information.
I hope this is a story. If because I'm assuming we'll get a season 2. I'm hoping
I'd
the
like-
story is
I'd
Vernestra
like to
comes and
think
tells
that
him
it was a
he
last
doesn't
minute
know
addition.
about it.
That it was a
He
last
doesn't
minute
know
addition
about it.
because they know that they've got a second season.
But I
Same
don't
with
want
same
Yoda
with
to know
Plagueis.
about
Same
this
with the
shit
other
whole
one.
time.
Taylor mentioned that he was wondering if the 2 big CGO cameos were added after they wrapped. It would make sense. Plagueis was on his own in a cave, dark, fine, and Yoda was with Leslie Headland's wife in a one shot and was a CGI quick, easy to film thing. Could easily be added after. And if those 2 were added because they know they're doing more and they can start to tap into those bits of the story in second season, they're just like laying groundwork for it, then maybe. But it didn't need to be here. Plagueis, I kind of liked. The Yoda one, I was the same as you. I was like,
Plagueis makes more sense
Alright.
with the ending of the episode,
Yeah.
where with them standing there because they're
And it
looking off the
asks
horizon like,
questions.
we're great, we're gonna go conquer the galaxy.
Mm.
There's a guy back there that we know. We've seen the guy back there, so
We-
that's
we do,
interesting.
as an audience,
Ultra
we know.
creepy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but that helps with the story. I don't want Yoda to know. Here's the thing: I don't want Yoda to know that all this shit. He already knew all this shit was going down.
no,
Did
I
Yoda
want it-
know Chimere maybe, and that's how it
I don't want him to know any of this.
involved?
This is
that's
why.
a good point.
This is why. Because I want them. I'm fine with Yoda being in second season. I think the setup here was stupid. I think if Vernestra comes into Yoda and says all this shit is happening, Yoda, and she's transparent and says this is what's going on. She's not going to tell the council exactly everything, but
Definitely
she'll
not
tell
Senate.
Yoda.
Yeah.
She'll oh, that's what I meant, the Senate. She'll tell Yoda. And I think what would be great is if Yoda's like, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I see this?
Yeah.
Something's
I can
happening.
see that.
I should be seeing this and I'm not. The Jedi are in trouble.
So
Yeah.
something very, very similar to that happens in the High Republic books. At the end of the first wave or first phase of those books, he's like, yeah, I've got to go and do something. And he just pieces out and he's gone for a while. And then he comes back in the third phase, which is like the continuation because they shuffle around timelines and stuff. And he's like, right, I'm back and I've got some information that I had from the past. Ellie's making a cameo appearance, just like
Ellie.
else. And so yeah, and so he has a history of doing this, but we will see if they do it or if they just don't bother with him. Like,
But the thing I do like is if you do look at Kiadamundi, he says, but the Sith had been extinct for millennia.
we don't
Question,
know.
turns and looks to Yoda.
Who turns to look
That's
at Mace?
interesting.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
So I'm assuming he doesn't know this the whole time, because otherwise he would have gone down there. Much like the Clone Wars, where the Clone Wars was getting so fucking bad, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to the Wookiees.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go hang out there. Like he's gonna spring into action. I don't think he knew this the whole time. I think now that he knows, then he'll do that. Just don't put it right after the last shot of
Yeah.
the story.
Mhm.
Put it after her talking to the Senate.
That's what I've said. Yeah, put it
Put it
earlier.
anywhere
or-
else.
Yeah,
Put it
yeah, yeah,
anywhere
yeah.
else.
So
Or maybe mid credits.
It's up there. It really sucked
mid-credits,
his egg.
post-
end
Credits.
credits, yeah, like or earlier. It's
It's
does
the
sort
shot.
of-
It's the shot of the dice in Solo. At the end of Solo, you're like, there they are. They're heading off into the thing. They're taking off into outer space, and then you get a shot of the dice for some reason. And it's like,
Yeah.
why was that there?
So
I'm a Broom
Ed
boy.
Ed
It's
Ed
a little
worked
Broom
on
boy for me.
my friend Ed worked on Solo, and he was saying like the amount of time that they had to put in on those dice when they were doing pickups and stuff for Solo, just for some of those shots. Like he was looking
Really?
at dailies. He was looking at dailies for about a week of just dice shots, close-ups of dice in different locations. It's like, are you kidding?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can
can we talk about this real quick? Chris
we
mentions Yoda
just while we're on
theory.
the while we're on the Yoda thing as well. Kayla,
Okay.
you mentioned that like maybe it's a case of Vern isn't gonna tell him everything. We've seen her be really withholding, but she was clearly Kaimir's master, and so if she's just being
That's what I
like,
figured.
Master Yoda, my apprentice, that one that fell, that we thought was lost or dead or whatever, like he's still around. That could be a problem.
So from what I understand is that Vern is a very different character in this than she is in the High Republic.
she's
I know in the High
growing. She's
Republic
growing.
book,
She's young.
like, yeah. So I'm kind of hoping, and this whole time we've been like, man, she's really sweeping stuff under the rug and being a real shit. I have a feeling that she wouldn't go to Yoda unless she wanted to tell him everything.
Totally. Yeah,
She's
maybe.
not going to tell she's not going to tell fucking Kiadamundi and just other Jedi Knights or Jedi Masters like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. She's just going to tell them what they need to hear. She tells the Senate that Saul was a bad guy, which fucking just gutted me.
Oh, so brutal.
But he kind of was a bad guy. But at the same time, like his intentions were so misguided. But it's all because of the Jedi's sort of
Dogma.
thing where
Pride.
they can't love. They can't do like he's so conflicted, and he's trying so hard to be good, but he still did bad shit because that's how the Jedi are. So I'm hoping that she is like being completely transparent with Yoda, 100% transparent with Yoda. I'm hoping that's what that means. It's like I can't tell anybody what really happened, but someone needs to know.
Mhm.
The Senate can't know this shit. Jedi can't know this shit, but Master Yoda's like the dude to talk to about what really happened and meditate on it and all that stuff. And I'm hoping that people in the books realize that Vernestra isn't some sort of like
she's not a saint.
asshole.
Like, I'm up to date now with the High Republic books and everything, and like even in the most recent one, she's got quite a main role in it. And even in there, like she's not the saint that everyone is holding her up to be. I feel like people who have read her first appearance in those books, in which was a full-on like, not even YA, it was a middle grade book, and like she's been in a few different books, and it's like, yes, she is very much a 15-year-old, like all-star student. Like she's amazing. She's just been knighted. She's great, and she is a really great character. But it's been 100 years. Like shit happens, and she's seen some stuff. Even in the books that I've read, like she's seen some stuff, and things happen. Like she grows, and yeah. I don't have a problem with how she's portrayed, and that it's that character. I think it makes it interesting, and it makes me go, cool. I can't wait to see how she gets to that point.
What is Yoda's position at this point? I don't follow the comics or the books.
Did she
or
say
anything,
master?
He's
She
master.
said
He
master,
is,
Master.
Is
He
he on the
is-
council or is he just?
he's a
he's
a grandmaster on the council. Like he's
Okay.
basically the same position he is in episode 1. There's a couple of like there's a couple of like grandmasters at that point. Well, there were in those books.
I swear to God, if that scene was just put right after the Senate scene,
The Senate.
I
Yeah,
would have
she
been
goes
like-
from
I would
there
have
to
been
Yoda.
great.
Like,
Yeah.
I just lied to cover our backs, but I'm gonna tell you the
We
truth
don't need a
because-
post-credit
Yeah.
scene. It's not
Yeah.
Marvel.
I feel like
Star
it's
Wars.
either what Chris said, that like maybe Yoda does know and wants to keep it quiet, or he doesn't and she's about to tell him everything. Either way, I really hope there's like a good purpose for him to be there, or else it's just like, why?
Talking about the Senate and senators and stuff, David Harewood
Yes.
played Senator Rayencourt. He was great. I want more of that.
Yeah.
I want more of him
He was
in
good.
season 2. He's
I liked
really
him in
good.
Supergirl.
He's brilliant in
Yeah.
everything. Like I like this guy a lot.
I liked
where was-
his comment about you think you have things under control, and Vernestra's like, we don't control the Force. He's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about your emotions. Like he's ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's all about like separation of church and state, and he's like, after he gave his speech, I told Stevie, I'm like, yeah, I like where this guy's head's at.
Yeah.
I really do.
He's right.
How
Like
can you completely suppress your emotions? Like,
Yeah.
unless it's part of your DNA and your Vulcan.
Yeah,
I was
right.
gonna say,
Like-
even Vulcans have trouble with it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
He's
It's not
he's
healthy.
got like one of the quotes of the episode for me, which was the when you're looking up to heroes, you don't have time to face what's right in front of you. And it's like, yeah, like people are looking up to the Jedi as these heroes. He's not. He's like, I see you for what you are. You're now corrupt cops, and that's not cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not cool. For
Um,
sure.
Shiny
Oh,
plastic
Chris
people
says that he
thinks.
thinks.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, you just hit it the same time I did.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll do it. There. I'll do it. Chris says, "Oh, I think he's in on the long-term Sith plan."
I saw someone
mean,
theorizing about this as well. Like someone thought
Huh.
that he might be whatever he was, Tenebrous,
need
Darth Tenebrous, and I'm like, nah,
Like
nah, please,
Proto
please.
Palpatine.
Like, well, yeah, basically the one who was Plagueis's master. No, I don't want that. Just have him be a senator. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you're gonna include some Coruscant story and have the Senate getting more and more involved in Jedi business, have him be
Yeah.
our focal point. Have him be our Mon Mothma of this show. Like our link to the Senate in that way.
I kind of wish he showed up sooner in the show.
I
not
think
just
so
in the
too.
last
Like I would have
episode.
liked to have seen that seasoned. He's
Like
talked
like he was a hologram
holo-
or something.
Yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
to him in an earlier episode, but like have him in there, like have him all the way through. And the
It's
other
fine.
thing with
It's
the,
fine
the
because I
Senate
loved it.
side
As soon
of
as I
it,
saw him, I was like, "Oh, Martian Manhunter, great."
The other one that I thought was really interesting with Vern was just after we see Plagueis, we cut back to Vern and she's on the comms with someone like saying, I need to talk to him, I need to do this. We don't ever find out who, and that it's against like protocols or regular channels and stuff. We never find out who that is. It could be
That
like
wasn't Basil.
it
That
could be
wasn't
Basil.
It was a different scene.
She was talking to someone who was speaking basic. It was the scene that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
but we
that's why I
don't
was wondering
see-
if it was translated.
Could be translated. Or it could be that she needed a meeting with the Chancellor. It could be trying to get hold of Yoda.
Okay.
But the voice just sounded so Palpatine-y. It sounded so Sheevy
Oh, yeah,
to me.
Did.
That I was
It
just like,
did.
I don't think it's not. It's definitely not that. But I think it sounds like him so much that we're like meant to think that way. It's like it's throwing the audience
Yeah.
off. And I was like, it's an interesting choice. You don't get a voice that sounds so much like Ian McDermott unless you're trying to do that to an
Yeah.
audience.
He's not
Yeah,
even
that's
alive.
I was
yet,
wondering
is he?
about that.
No, he shouldn't be. It should definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't be and shouldn't
Apparently,
be.
Catamundi isn't either. So the show is just trash. Hashtag fire emoji. Hashtag trash emoji.
What else do we have?
Uh,
Yeah. I think
So
that's
here's
nice.
this. Here's another part I loved. Kymir's sort of standing back, watching the whole Osha May Saul thing, and he's just like, great. Let's sort this shit out. Let's watch. Let's see how this goes. I set up all my pieces.
I'm gonna let you
I'm
dig
just
your own
chilling
grave.
out. I'm chilling out with my helmet off, and then he puts it on real quick when Vern shows up,
yeah.
and it is. He's like scared. He's like,
Oh,
oh shit.
shit.
Terrified.
He goes and hides in his
Yeah.
Sith hole, and
Sith hole.
so it's essentially like they know each other. They have a past. We're assuming, and we get that it's a former
She's
apprentice.
Yeah,
responsible
she
for
says
him.
her at
Like,
the end, her former apprentice who
Yeah.
turned evil.
yeah.
The whips.
I thought she said
so. We're assuming it's
pupil.
whip marks on his back.
Yep.
That's fun.
Maybe.
I look forward to seeing that story play out.
Yeah.
Like what happened
I'm-
there. I mean, that could be the season 2. If you're gonna do flashbacks, that's your season 2 flashbacks.
I'm curious. One thing I was curious about at the beginning of the episode when she had the helmet on, and then there was flashes of Chimere in like this blue light, and then it was back to the normal light, and then he had black eyes at one point. Like, I just didn't know how to interpret that because I was wondering if she was seeing that, but then we find out no, she saw May.
No, I think
killing
I think we're seeing
Saul.
that from his POV. I think like when it's the blue light,
Okay.
that's what when we're in his head, similar to when we were in what's his
Okay.
name's head.
Torben.
Torben.
Corbin,
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's
The
why
theory
he's like,
seems-
yeah, he's all
Go-
scared in that because he's essentially like being put into this like projected into this like vision space. That's
the
how I
theory
read
seems
it.
to be like he was
Okay.
talking about how the helmet is like sensory deprivation at the end of the last episode, and it's just you and the Force essentially, like that her sitting in that helmet like reconnected her with the
Yeah.
Force, and like she leveled up, like she's
Yeah,
she's
totally.
at her full power.
She's doing Mother Anastasia's like trick of like
Yeah.
getting in their heads, and yeah,
But why did his eyes turn black?
because that's part of their witchy powers. Like Torbin's did,
Okay.
Kel
that's
Naka's
right.
did. Like yeah, whenever
That's
they're
right.
possessing them, it's not a possession. It's like it is just some sort of control.
It's kind of like oh my god, I'm forgetting the spell from Harry Potter. Oh god.
You can make it up.
Fan. I'm a bad
Yeah.
fan. It's one of the 3 bad ones. Damn it. It's when you can control someone, essentially.
Okay.
It's similar. Like the person's still aware of it. Why do I want to say Insidio? No, that's to light on fire. Not Cruciatus, that's torture. I'll look it up. Continue.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. Avada Kedavra. Just ignore.
One thing we haven't talked about, I don't think, that asteroid rings like system, that was really cool and the chase
liked it.
through, and
I liked it a lot.
Imperio.
There
Got
you
it. Sorry.
No, the Imperials aren't around yet. That's a few hundred years later.
Thank you, Chris. The Imperious curse, yes. But you
you
say Imperio.
The the asteroid belts thing was great. I loved that. It was really cool, and the fact that she's confident that he can't slip through like where she is, like flying through, and he's
He
just
just
like
barrels through.
he just
crashes
so
crashes
determined.
right through. It's like he's a man on a mission at that point. It's like
Yeah. It was kind of cool when he was first coming in and like the fin was peeking through. It was like the opposite of like a shark fin.
I was gonna say it was like quite Jaws-y, but like inverted
Yeah.
Jaws.
It reminded me of Lilo and Stitch when the ship is flying through the clouds and the tip goes down beneath the clouds. It's like, it is Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't think I've got much else.
Do you want to talk about Plagueis, or we all assume it's Plagueis, right?
It's
yeah, it
definitely
has to
Plagueis.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with
Yeah.
that because it's
So
not
we
in any
think
other
he's
Star Wars. It's
just
not
a
Snoke back there. It's not, you know.
Third party outsider observer voyeur.
I hope so.
Okay. Like you would prefer that rather than him and Chimere being in cahoots. Okay.
I don't want Chimere to be a Sith in the traditional sense of like the Darth Bane rule of 2 line down, whatever you want to call it. Like I don't want him to be a part of that. I want him to be doing his own thing, and that's like his. I mean, you'd call me a Sith. Like I like that. Like fuck it, there isn't a name for what I am. I'm just doing my own thing. I take elements from everywhere that I go that I like the look of. I want him to be doing that. And maybe Plagueis is there to scout him. Maybe he's been training with Plagueis, but he's like, I'm not your apprentice. Maybe he's saying to Plagueis that he is. Maybe he's Tenebrous, Plagueis' master. Maybe it's a second apprentice to him, and Plagueis is there going like, the fuck is this guy? Like all of those sorts of theories are fine and cool. I don't want him to be Plagueis' apprentice.
Yeah. I know some
And I'm
people are
hoping
talking about-
this is them going off and starting the Knights of Ren.
I
Like
hope
these
so.
Yeah,
two
I
are
was
like.
about to
really
mention
hope so
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so that was a thing before Kylo Ren was. Okay.
There's in some comics. There's like you see the Rise of Kylo Ren comic book. There is a group. The Knights of Ren are a group. There is a guy who just is allergic to wearing a shirt. A blonde guy who's allergic to wearing a shirt. And he is just called Ren. That's what he goes by. It's just Ren.
Okay.
Him and Luke and Ben have an encounter with them at one point later on when Ben is being manipulated and like teased and sorted out by what's his name, Snoke. Snoke essentially sends him to go and join the Knights of Ren and then kill Ren himself and then basically become their leader. Before that, we don't know. They've been around for a while. This guy was human. The Ren guy was human. So
that's why he created
he just
that
took the
name
name
from him.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Interesting. Okay.
So can it be
Makes more
Chimera
sense
Ren?
now.
Yeah, why not?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it does sound good.
Rolls off the tongue.
And I really like the thing I really, really appreciate with this show is that it's really it's sort of like acknowledging and homaging and really like honoring the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy. It doesn't really dip its toes into the original trilogy that much.
Virgins in the Force, like Yoda, but I mean, like the Virgins in the Force, Dagobah's a Virgins, like that the cave.
Yeah, but they don't
Dagobah's
say that like you. But it feels
Yeah,
more.
true.
I mean, it does. I mean, yeah. Here's the thing: it's acknowledging all of that shit, which I really like, and it's bringing new context to those things in those other movies, including stuff like. And I'm hoping we get more, so we do see that. Oh, this is what a Ren is. It is helping me understand, like, oh. This is why the Jedi, like, it's really nailing home the fact that the Jedi were bad at what they were doing in the prequel trilogy. It's really solidifying what George did, and it's really solidifying what JJ and Rian Johnson did.
Yeah,
like,
and why they're an independent organization, but by the time we get to the prequels, they are very much operating under like Senate jurisdiction sort of thing. Like the Senate tell them that we need 2 Jedi to go to sort out this trade conflict over here. Who you got? And it's like normally at this point in the Jedi would be like, oh, fuck it, we're not getting involved in that. We do our own thing. We're going looking for virginses, mate.
Yeah.
Whereas by the time we get to Phantom Menace, they're listening to and taking orders from the Senate.
Yeah.
So
the
go ahead.
You go ahead. My thoughts are all scrambled in my brain.
I'm just still kind of like, I know that the Virgins is, a powerful center of the Force. And I don't know, like, I just don't quite understand why it's such a bad thing to create life with that powerful force.
Because the Jedi say so. Like, that's, I think.
I mean, if you look.
Okay.
Like, if you look at cloning, I want to say, like, the Catholic Church is like, you can't play God, essentially. It's just.
Got it.
Yeah.
Church said no.
So it's just
Dolly the
Jedi
sheep
that, like,
is evil.
Devil the sheep.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, Chris mentions here as well the who taught us that rhyme. That felt real quick and real throwaway there. I was like, there's something more there, because that is a case of they both thought the other one made it up, but that's just part of their creation. Like they have always known that. They've learned it from somewhere.
Do you think Plagueis was involved with the witches then?
I don't know. I kind of like it being a separate thing personally.
Or he was influencing them without them knowing, or even, as Chris just said, like manipulating Chimera without Chimera knowing. That's kind of thing.
I think that's possible. Like that there is some other force. Quite no pun.
That's the thing. That's the thing I like about this show is it was able to do all this stuff without having any like characters that we already know.
Yeah.
So Plagueis is new. That's fine. We can. I mean, he was mentioned in episode 3.
But in canon, that's it. Like that is the only mention of him.
That's so it's the thing I really do like about this show is that it was able to sort of solidify things everyone was doing in their different trilogies, whether it was George, or the sequel dudes.
Sequel dudes.
Without having this crutch of being cool, cameo of the week. Like, I'm sure if it was like Filoni doing the show, we would see like, oh, look, it's the Rancor Keeper as a little kid. I'm going to grow up and get a Rancor. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, is that kind of like this was such a, like, yes, it used people from the books, but it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's fine if you use people that we haven't seen before. Like, stop digging out actors. Like it feels like Star Wars has this thing where they feel the need to fill in gaps by bringing in characters, so like, Andor does it with like, oh, Mothma's there, and does the Emperor show up in Andor? No, but he shows up in Obi-Wan. It's like we have to have this whole series to fill this gap with these characters you already know. What's great about this is we didn't know any of these characters or their fates. We didn't know anybody's fate in the show up until Ki-Adi-Mundi and Yoda, and that was what like made the story kind of cool. That's cool to me, is like creating new things, surprising things, doing things that are outside the norm.
We know
thinking outside
Plagueis
the box.
fate.
Yeah,
We don't.
yeah. Well, I mean,
That's been a dick.
do we?
I mean, we know what Sheev says about him.
Right.
His apprentice
Sith are
killed him.
always truthful.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, but Chimera has been so far. Plagueis was trying to create life, and Chimera did. Like his eyes did light up when they were talking about Mayanosha being created. He was stood in the background at that point, and he was like, "Whoa, wait a second! I didn't know this."
So
if he is like involved with Plagueis, then that is going to be very interesting to Plagueis, I would have thought.
Plagueis?
Yeah.
Did Plagueis create Anakin?
Again, going back to books that aren't canon anymore, Plagueis and Sheev were manipulating stuff, trying to create life, and they were doing their thing over here. And at the same time, Anakin appears in another part of the galaxy. They feel like a big like poof thing happen, and it's not sort of ever said, but it's heavily implied that it's the Force countering what they were doing, and so the Force creating the other one. So that's why he's the chosen one.
Okay,
but again, none of that's canon, so could all be gone.
But Leslie Headland knows all of that stuff,
and
it's probably something she could bring into the fold. For
like, in the way it makes sense for
audience.
Definitely. It's I mean that book's great. James Gisano's Darth Plagueis book is really good.
Yeah.
And so like most of it at the moment fits with canon stuff. Like there's a couple of tweaks and little bits and bobs, but not much. Most of it still does fit. It's one that hasn't been like completely changed. So you can pick out sections like Baldemnik, if this is that planet, like you can pick out bits and stuff like that. But yeah, Plagueis is around for a lot longer than we think in that book. Like he's in the background all the way through till like I think the end of episode 1. That's when Palpatine kills him. Like he knows about Maul, and he like just thinks that Maul is Palpatine's like little pet. And he's there like in that balcony when he sends Maul off to Tatooine. Like the next like 5 seconds of that, he turns the corner and he's there talking to Plagueis. It's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't have anything else for this episode.
I don't either. I like the series.
I want Chris to expand on. I still don't think the girls are pure immaculate conception, though.
Oh yeah, you want him to expand on that? What is?
No, I'm serious.
Yeah, tell us
I
more.
know how your brain works.
Yeah. No, I'm
watched enough
genuinely
YouTube
curious.
AO3
what
is
he means
AO3
by
the
that.
fan fiction site?
Yeah, I think it'll be
well.
explored. I think there'll be a season 2. I think the show. I mean, I like it. I like it. I really it all comes down to I didn't like the mind wipe and the placement of Yoda. That's all it comes down to.
Yeah. I hope
but
both
really
of
didn't like the mind
those
wipe.
come into play next season, that they make sense.
They would have to.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
can't not. Yeah. The fact that she's arrested and like she's with the Jedi, and Vern's telling her more than she's telling most people. Like, so.
This is how her baby's made.
Yeah.
That's how these two were made.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in that coven.
There was
Yeah.
one thing that during the asteroid chase, I wrote it
wrote
down
many.
because I thought it was funny and it didn't make any sense. May's like, Pip, brace yourself. I'm like, with what? He doesn't have any arms. He's an immobile droid.
I
What
need
the
a
fuck
Pip.
is he supposed to
Real
brace
bad.
himself with?
I like that. I didn't even pick up on it. It's you're in a dock already. You can't brace
Yeah.
yourself anymore. Like
I
what do you
feel
wanna do?
like
You're not
here's
pivoting
the
your
thing.
head.
Here's the thing. When I drive around, like I talk to myself. I get mad
yeah.
at people and I just say shit to myself. So she's probably like, it's shit she's gonna say to herself, but oh, someo's listening.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
address
Okay,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's what it is.
And I get that it's like a storytelling tool too. Like it's foreshadowing of the chase is going to get more
and that she's
intense. But
she's like lightened,
Like camping.
she's like just in the time that she's been on that ship, she's gone for like full light. So she's caring for this droid in the same way that her sister used to. So
Yeah.
before when she picked it
They-
up, she was like ripping it apart, factory resetting. She was like, whatever, it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's
now
really
now it's a
interesting how
person.
they've completely switched places
Completely,
by the
completely.
end.
They both factory resetted.
Yeah, they did.
You know.
All three of them.
yeah, I just had a strange thought, like because of the fact that they've kept stressing that they are the same person. Like I have this like May becomes Osha and Osha becomes May. Like
I mean, it's even in the thing they say to each other.
yeah.
Yeah. Born as two, like, or whatever it is. Yeah, I can't remember the rhyme, but yeah.
Always
And I think that rhyme, that rhyme's coming back, and the fact that they talked about like where do we learn that? How do we know that? I think's interesting and needs to be explored more.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Mind wipe,
In
get
comics.
erased. Like,
Acolyte books.
Yeah, right.
Don't do that to me. I don't read them. I want to know what happens.
I'll read them to you, Ralph. We'll do like a whole season of it.
Thank you.
Oh, that would be cute. I would
Yeah.
love that. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Bedtime
Just
stories.
do a chapter.
I think I'd get
and
sued.
then,
I think
talk
that
about
would be
it
what we get
after.
shut down for. Like, not the Christmas special or anything. Like, just that would be what we get shut down for. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be more. I think there'll be more,
I think there has to be. I don't think.
and
they
I'll be
include some
excited
of
for
this-
more.
Yeah. Give us more of that.
This mind wipe thing just better just be like, oh, that totally makes sense for the story.
Also, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Emil? I mean, yeah, there's some things you don't need answers to. Once again, we're all
Lost
Lost fans
fans.
here.
Yes.
It's not about getting answers. It's about the journey and the connections you make with people
There
and your
is.
redemption story.
Yeah, it was all about the acolyte we've made along the way.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But hopefully
Yeah.
we get some more answers
Mhm.
next season, which hopefully
Yeah.
there's a next season.
Mhm.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Emil, I don't know if you just joined us late or anything. Like, we weren't 100% positive on this episode. We had some things that we didn't
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
like answers aren't what's holding us back. It is an incomplete chapter. The show is an incomplete chapter. Star Wars, they are chapter titled. Like,
I think that's one of the things too. Is this whole
Yeah.
time, like, as soon as people were
That's
up in
true.
arms about Kieta-Mundi, and he
that
should
third
know that
episode or
the Sith
whatever
were
it
here
is.
because
Yeah.
and then as the story goes, we've been saying the whole time, like, this is only episode 2 or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
like you need to hear the whole story before you can start criticizing it. Now we saw what we thought was the complete story, and we're like, we didn't get the whole story, so now we're complaining about it. But after seeing the whole thing,
I
I'm
think
assuming
people
you
are
still
always
haven't
going
seen
to
the
complain
complete
about
story.
something.
Yeah, I know.
Also, Vactor,
I was
do you
bitching
mean
about
your
the stupidest thing.
lightsaber rise?
All right. I can smell some dinner being cooked downstairs, so I'm gonna close us out here because I think we've covered it all.
I think so
Everyone good?
too.
Cool.
Agreed.
Kayla and Johnny, want to chat about your show real quick?
Yeah, you can find us on Geek the F Out at GTFO channel. Johnny, yeah, you point
You'll
one
get
to one direction or the other. On YouTube, and we post on Instagram updates. We have our usual Trek Retrek show every Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. We're just gonna Brady Bunch it, and right now we're doing our Lost Watch Rewatch series. It is Johnny's first time watching Lost and my many a times watching Lost.
Whereabouts are you
Although
guys
I'm
up to?
still we're about to talk about the second half of season 2
Okay.
on
alright, cool.
Friday.
Way further behind than me and my partner are.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny
I've watched up to the end of season 4, but we've only talked about.
Covered
He
it.
got a little ahead of himself.
I did.
'Cause,
I
yeah.
got sucked in.
exciting.
What can I say?
Good show.
Yes. Yeah, so every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern, and Mr. Ralph is joining us on all the season reviews since we talk about the episodes themselves and then we talk about, like, you know, the broader picture of the season and themes and all that kind of stuff. So we do that with Mr. Ralph.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm.
And we're doing it all the way through the documentary premiere in September.
Great.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And speaking of the documentary, we are not going to be here next week because Ralph has some busy work to do on the doc.
We tend to take a break after a season of a show. We'll take a break off, and then I'm hoping I return the following week. I don't know. Taylor is currently editing the documentary, which is very, very, very lengthy right now. I watched all the new stuff in it last night, and I've seen 3 hours and 40-minute cut, and I'm like, I like all of it. I like all of it. But
You should
that can't
just do
be.
an
Something's have
extended
to.
cut like Lord of the Rings.
We need to pull the thread and divide this
Yes.
into two. But I don't think it's going to happen. Go to gettinglostdoc.com. We're in the last month of our Indiegogo campaign. It may be your last chance to pick up a Blu-ray, and it's exciting. It's really exciting because I keep telling Taylor, I said, like, whatever you cut out, like, you still have good stuff. Like, it's all good.
I want to
The
see all
problem,
the
I
cutout
think, is-
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
Indiegogo
anyone's going to be
and
able to see
support.
that. But
For
it's,
Taylor
I mean,
and you.
it's fun, but we are rapidly approaching our September 22nd premiere date, and I could feel like it's all becoming very real. I have, as
You're
soon as
gonna
I'm off,
implode.
as soon as
like
we
a
sign
certain-
off, I'm gonna go
certain
upload
thing.
the audio, and then I have stuff I need to send to Taylor. So it's I got work to do, and I got to create some stuff for sponsors. If anybody happens to have a small business that wants to sponsor the premiere, let me know. If you know anybody that has like a business or anything that wants, it doesn't have to be a small business. We'll take a big business. Disney, you
We'll
apparently
take those
give me
paychecks.
paychecks. Yeah. So
I can see if Apple is interested since they promoted it so much.
Best way to support us, yes. I think the absolute best way to support us is anytime you see like a tweet or anything where we tag like Netflix or Hulu or anybody like that, maybe give it a like, maybe give it maybe respond to it, or we're trying to, much like Chimere, we're trying to court a couple of different evil entities to
Evil entities.
They're not evil.
We're trying
They're
to
all
bring 'em-
great. We
we're
love
trying
them
to
all.
bring 'em
We're-
Yes,
into our-
I know.
into our
Like,
lost.
all
We
are
have
lovely
this-
and
you
do
need to
great
change your
things.
language there, Ralph.
Yeah.
If you want that to happen.
I feel like I wanna just like scoop them all up, and I want them to come to the side, because the lost community is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to just like lure them in, like, look at this, look at us. the Facebook page has like 8 million followers. It's nuts.
Amazing.
People
Yeah.
love
Damn.
this show, and with Netflix and Hulu both streaming now,
It's on Disney
like,
Plus in the UK.
Yeah,
Hmm.
like just bring it
ABC.
over.
Maybe
Just,
because of
just,
Hulu.
just
Yeah.
you guys want us to be there as your watch next recommendation after people watch the finale and get mad at it. We'll be right there in the right there in the screen with the end credits for the finale
Also,
going. We'll be like, Getting Lost, the documentary.
Screen Crush just did a breakdown of the ending
Mhm.
explained very randomly. I sent it to Johnny. I'm like, why are they doing this?
That's the thing. That's the thing is Netflix just got it on 17 days ago, and so it's back on people's minds.
Yeah, perfect.
And so it's now's the time. It's the 20th anniversary in Jesus, it's 2 months.
So our schedule here might be a little bit ropey for the next 2
It'll
months.
be up in the air.
It'll be up in the air.
TLDR.
Yeah. Definitely
in my
not next
calendar.
week. Pay attention to socials.
Yeah. And then
Sounds
I
good.
don't know whose pick it is next, but I'll do something.
I mean, I'm hoping that they put out their like the behind the scenes documentary for this relatively quick. They sometimes take a while. They sometimes do them within a couple of weeks. So my hope is that they put that out and announce season 2 like at the same time in like 2 weeks time. That'd be ideal.
Great. I don't know
Love
if I'm
that.
available then. I have no idea
Well,
when I'm available.
we'll cover it when you're back and when they announce it and when it's out. But like, that's my hope is that can be the next thing that we cover, so that we're still like semi fresh on Acolyte stuff.
Great.
If not, we'll figure it out. Just pay attention to like Instagram and Blue
Hit
Sky.
the bell icon. You'll know exactly when we go live.
And that's the most important one.
Yes.
Cool.
Smack that like, smack that bell.
Yeah.
Smack that subscribe.
And I'm back. We're doing more Top 10 Tacos. We had a new episode out this week, and hopefully a 10th episode out soon to finish out our first initial Top 10 board.
Complete list.
Yeah,
Nice.
and then we can start
Time
knocking
to
things
bump
off.
people out.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find that wherever you get podcasts.
Very cool.
Cool. Kayla, Johnny, thank you for joining us once again. Look forward
Thanks
to
for
having you on
having us.
again soon.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Ralph, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. But until then, everybody, don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love. And we did prep them.
Punch it!